If your grade is 60 in the exam, you'll be getting 2.5. So if you'll be getting higher grade in the exam, of course, higher than your final exam grade. Mr. Willicor, uh, if your grade in the final exam is 60, you'll be getting 2.75. Santos Cassandra, if your exam is 60 on Wednesday, you'll be getting 2.5. Yvette Alvarado. Ay, ba't wala? Anong surname mo? Alvarado? Ba't wala akong Alvarado na student? Period 2. Ito Yvette, naka-raise ng hand. Ano, tapos na siya doon. Okay. Tapos na. Gusto mo ulit ka. Dael. Dael. Napasa mo na to. If your grade is 60 in the exam, you'll be getting 2.00. Okay. Shangwan. Lang. Shangwan. Shangwan. If your grade in the exam is 60, you'll be getting 2.75. Lishwan. Lishwan. If your grade is 60 in the exam, your grade would be 3.00. So you cannot fail the final exam. Okay. Moralio. If your grade in the finals is 60, your final grade would be 2.00. Meron pa? Pastor, okay na. Wala na. Okay na. Baka hindi na kayo mag-aral tapos failed kayo sa finals. Hindi umabot yung grade nyo sa passing. You need to get at least passing, ha? Para sure pass. So let's begin now with our review. Share na kami ako. None of the examinees messaged me regarding the game pins in the Kahoot. That's why I did not send in the GC. So I'm only sending it if someone would request. So if you will be taking the exam, kailan ba? November? On November, you need to message me that you want to practice in Kahoot para I can publish the game pins. Ha? Okay, wait lang. Oops. Wait lang. All right, number 1. Now, which of the following is most likely to cause gingival recession? So, occlusal trauma, systemic disease, toothbrushing abrasion, improper deflecting contour, necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis. So earlier we've discussed the most common cause of gingival recession. You need to choose here the best answer, and that is your letter C, toothbrushing abrasion. Okay. So in terms of the gingival recession, we have the classification here. Classification of recession defect by Miller way back in 1985. Okay. Hindi pa kayo pinapanganak niyan mo. So class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4. So for you to be able to understand this better, let's look at this picture here. Okay. So for class 1 defect, this recession, this gingival recession, has not extended beyond the mucogingival junction yet. So this is the mucogingival junction, or your MGJ. So the recession has not reached the mucogingival junction yet. That is your class 1 defect. Class 2 defect, on the other hand, the recession has already reached beyond the mucogingival junction, meaning to say it's already in the attached gingiva. Okay, earlier in class 1, it's only limited into the free gingival area. So for class 3, this one, recession extends beyond the mucogingival junction here. Okay, and there's already loss of interdental bone. Okay, there's loss of interdental bone as well as recession on the interproximal area. If you look closely here in class 1 and class 2, in class 1, there's no recession yet. Class 2, nag-blunt na yung interdental papilla. But for class 3, visible na yung recession. So you now have your black triangle here. Okay, and also in class 3 recession defect, there's also malpositioning of the tooth. So malpositioning tooth, either labially inclined, lingually inclined, rotated. Okay, and class 4, recession has reached the mucogingival junction. Mali yung drawing. It has reached the mucogingival junction. It was extended here. Okay, and also there's severe bone loss and soft tissue loss on the interdental area. Okay, more severe compared to your class 3 defect. And also there would be severe malposition. So why do we need to classify these different gingival recession? We need to classify the gingival recession because this would dictate whether or not we can achieve or we can obtain complete root coverage. Okay, so complete root coverage. Let's say you want to address the gingival recession. Okay, of course it would depend on how receded the gingiva is. If there's only class 1 and class 2 gingival recession, then complete root coverage is obtainable. Pwede. Okay? For class 3 recession defect, only partial root coverage is obtainable. And for class 4 recession defect, no root coverage. Okay? Medyo mahirap i-manage if it's class 4. Next is number 2. Which of the following represents the main objective of the maintenance phase periodontal therapy? So maintenance phase, SPT. The objective natin, prevent recurrence, perform touch-up, complete all remaining aspects of the treatment plan, reevaluate the results of initial therapy. First, this is our goal. Prevent recurrence of the disease. So how often do we recall a patient with periodontitis? How many months? Every month? It's 3 months. Every 3 months, we need to recall the patient. Okay? For a patient without periodontitis, let's say gingivitis only, the recall interval would be every 6 months, twice a year, every 6 months. But for patients with periodontitis, we do it every 3 months. Of course, it would also vary depending on the compliance of the patient. If the patient is not able to maintain the area, then you need to demote your patient. Okay? Instead of 3 months, okay, every month muna. Every month, you need to come back. We need to assess. We need to perform scaling and polishing until such time that you're able to maintain the area. Okay? So it varies every visit of the patient. Either you're going to promote or demote your patient or retain every 3 months. Okay? Of course, in real life, it's not being followed, diba? Most of the time, patients will still go to your clinic if there's a problem, diba? Doc, it's mobile again. What can we do? Pero you need to make the patient understand that patient needs to come back to prevent recurrence of the disease. All right. Talking about maintenance phase, we have what we call periodontal therapy. So if you're managing periodontitis on a patient, patient would be subjected to periodontal therapy. And periodontal therapy would have 4 phases. You have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. You have here cause-related therapy or your initial therapy for phase 1, phase 2, corrective therapy or surgical phase, phase 3, restorative phase, and phase 4, supportive periodontal therapy or maintenance phase. Keep in mind that under phase 1 or your cause-related therapy, okay, included here are your extraction. So let's say extraction. Yeah, extraction of teeth is included here. Okay, oral hygiene instruction, patient education. Okay. Non-surgical root planing is also under cause-related therapy or phase 1. Antibiotic is also under phase 1. Ortho is also under phase 1. Restoration, okay, is also under phase 1. Temporization is also under phase 1. Okay. Um, by the way, before I forget, na-mention ulit yung antibiotics. I forgot to mention earlier, di ba, during the start of our lecture this morning, I have differentiated to you chronic versus aggressive perio. And we discussed that it falls under the 1999 classification of periodontal disease. Another unique difference between chronic and aggressive periodontitis is on how we manage this disease. Okay, let's say for chronic perio, the patient is healthy. Aggressive perio, the patient is also healthy. Okay, management would be different. Of course, both of which would undergo non-surgical root planing. But way back 1999, they believed that if the diagnosis is aggressive periodontitis, there is a need to prescribe antibiotics. And most of the time, it's a combination drug, amoxicillin plus metronidazole, okay, combination drug, whether or not the patient is healthy or not. If the patient has chronic periodontitis and the patient is healthy, then there's no need for you to give antibiotics to that patient. Okay. What if patient has chronic perio and the patient is immunocompromised? Patient has aggressive perio and the patient is immunocompromised. Of course, both patients would need antibiotic therapy. Okay. But if even though the patient is healthy, as long as your diagnosis is aggressive perio, then you still need to give antibiotic therapy. Currently, we are using the 2017 classification. And in 2017 classification, we are not classifying periodontal disease whether they are chronic or aggressive. Instead, we are using the staging and grading. Okay? So meaning to say, in terms of management here, we still rely to the non-surgical root planing phase 1 first. We don't usually prescribe antibiotics, not unless the patient is immunocompromised. So if the patient has perio and the patient is healthy, then no need for antibiotic prescription. Antibiotic prescription is only for patients who are immunocompromised. Another indication of antibiotic is for the necrotizing ulcerative diseases, ANUG, ANUP. Okay? You need to give antibiotics. All right. So phase 2 is corrective therapy. So under phase 2, you now have your surgical root planing. Okay? Surgical root planing. Earlier in phase 1, we have the non-surgical root planing. Phase 2, surgical root planing. You cannot subject a patient directly to phase 2. The patient needs to undergo phase 1 first before being subjected to phase 2. Meaning to say, all perio patients should be subjected to NSRP first before deciding to go to do root planing surgically. Okay? Do not be confused with, because phase 2 is also known as surgical phase. Do not confuse odontectomy as surgical phase. Okay? Odontectomy falls under phase 1 still. Tama yung extraction. Some students are confused here. Since it's surgical phase, they would associate odontectomy as surgery. They would classify it as phase 2. No, it's phase 1. All right? Surgical phase here meaning to say open procedure. You're opening the area to expose the roots for you to be able to clean it properly. Okay? Next is phase 3. Okay? So phase 3 is your restorative phase. So this one's also confusing. Okay, some students would associate the restorative phase with tooth restoration. As I've mentioned earlier, tooth restoration falls under phase 1. Okay, restorative phase here means you are restoring the function. If in phase 1 you perform extraction, okay, so you now have edentulous area. So you now need to restore the function on that area, on those edentulous area. So you are now to fabricate either denture, fabricate fixed bridges, okay? So that is your restorative phase. If you would be putting or cementing porcelain fused to metal crown, that is now in your restorative phase. So meaning to say, if the patient would receive fixed partial denture, okay? During phase 1, what you can do is only up to temporary bridge. Okay, the final restoration, the final PFM bridge would be cemented under phase 3 once you have controlled the periodontitis of the patient. Why? Why do you think? Ganun yung reason natin. Why do you need to stabilize first periodontitis before you cement the final restoration? Like bridge or crown. What's your answer? Bakit? Why do we need to wait? More difficult to clean if my bridge. What else? Oh, tama. That's one reason. What else? What is the sequela of periodontal therapy? What's the sequela of periodontal therapy? Gum recession, gingival recession. So if you cemented the fixed bridge under phase 1 and you're still undergoing, or patient still undergoing root planing procedure, as it heals, what can happen? The gingiva would recede, leaving you with exposed margins. And that is anesthetic. So you want to stabilize first the final position of the pregingival margin before you fabricate your final bridge. Okay, before you cement it. All right. Next, we have maintenance therapy or supportive periodontal therapy. So again, you are developing here the recall interval or recall programs. Okay, so sabi natin 3 month, 3 months interval for this one. So what do we need to check? What do we need to do during patient recall or maintenance phase? Sabi ng patient, okay, doc, I'm here. After 3 months, I'm back. What should we do? Wala lang, I just want to see you ganun ba? So probe. Check your parameters. PPD, CAL, gingival recession, bleeding on probing, mobility, okay, visual, radiograph, etc. Then also, you need to identify now the next recall ni patient. When is the next recall? Okay, you will be deciding the next recall based on what you have observed here. You will also decide, okay, let's do scaling and polishing every 3 months. Okay. So number 3, plaque accumulation has a direct effect on which of the following: level of materia alba, severity of gingivitis, the accumulation of calculus, the severity of periodontitis. What do you think? Madam C, what about the others? B, E. So we mentioned this morning that calculus is calcified plaque, di ba? However, for plaque to calcify, we need mineral content from the saliva. So it would still depend on the mineral content present in the saliva, okay? The formation of calcular deposit, okay? So the answer here is letter B, severity of gingivitis. As plaque matures, okay, gingivitis now becomes more severe. Remember, we have mild gingivitis, moderate gingivitis, severe gingivitis. But always remember that not all cases of gingivitis progresses to periodontitis. Okay? It's not a linear disease. Hindi siya healthy, mild, moderate, severe, perio. It's not like that. Okay? Some cases of severe gingivitis would remain as severe gingivitis. Why? Because we need to consider also the immune response of the patient. Is the patient releasing more pro-inflammatory cytokines or more anti-inflammatory cytokines? You also have to consider, kalimutan ko. You also have to consider the biotype of the patient. Does your patient has a thin biotype or a thick biotype? Thin gingiva, thick gingiva, thin bone, thick bone. Okay? That's why not all cases of gingivitis progresses to periodontitis. All right? I'm sure you know that you had a hard time finding your perio patients, di ba? Tinawag nyo na yung patient who has the most severe gingivitis sa area ninyo, and yet the patient still has no periodontitis. All right? So the answer here is letter B, severity of gingivitis. Okay. So again, you have mild, moderate, and severe gingivitis. We have mentioned earlier, up to 9%, you have clinically healthy gingiva. Okay. 10 to 30%, that's localized gingivitis. More than 30%, that is generalized gingivitis. Okay. You also need to know that gingivitis is considered as a reversible lesion, while periodontitis is an irreversible lesion. Okay? Meaning to say, pag sinabing reversible, it does not leave any residual effect. But in irreversible, it leaves a residual effect, just like your bone loss, gingival recession. Okay? But for gingivitis, after performing scaling and polishing, then gingiva would revert back to its healthy state. Number 4, gingivitis is caused by calculus, microorganisms, materia alba, occlusal trauma, or all of the above. This is very easy. Etiology of gingivitis. What causes gingivitis? Calculus ba? Microorganisms? Materia alba? Occlusal trauma? All of the above. So, meaning to say, occlusal trauma can cause gingivitis. Calculus can cause gingivitis. What did we say earlier about calculus? Sabi natin, calculus is calcified plaque. And during the process of calcifications, what happens to the amount of microorganisms there? It decreases. Okay? Meaning to say, the amount of gram-negative anaerobic microorganism is decreased. So the remaining bacteria in calculus, in calcular deposits, is not virulent enough to cause inflammation. So calculus does not cause inflammation. The only role of your calculus is provides a niche for plaque accumulation, plaque retentive. It helps the plaque reach the site, okay? But it does not contribute in terms of inflammation because the remaining bacteria there are not virulent enough. So letter E is wrong because calculus is not the answer. Sabi natin, etiology of gingivitis. Sabi natin, it's plaque. Diba? It's also known as your biofilm. Okay? And what is in plaque? What causes inflammation? Because in the early stages of plaque accumulation, there's bacteria there already. However, the bacteria present there is not yet virulent enough because the initial colonizers are gram-positive aerobic microorganism. As plaque matures, there would be a shift in the environment, and the predominant microorganisms would be gram-negative anaerobic microorganisms. And those are the ones that are able to cause inflammation. So meaning to say, microorganisms, bacteria, gram-negative anaerobic microorganism. These are the possible answers if you're asked for the etiology of gingivitis or periodontitis. Okay? Pwedeng plaque, pwedeng biofilm, pwedeng microorganisms. It can be bacteria. It can be gram-negative anaerobic microorganism. Okay? So the answer here would be letter B, microorganism. Okay? That's the cause of gingivitis. If you want to be more specific, it's the gram-negative anaerobic microorganism. All right? Okay? Dapat hindi materia alba. Yes, they have bacteria also, food debris with bacteria. However, it does not have an organized matrix. So if you gargle, pwede ma-deflect agad yun. It easily comes off when you gargle. Unlike your plaque, which has an organized matrix, soft, tenacious, adherent deposit of which is composed of bacteria in an organized matrix. Okay. So the answer is letter B, microorganism. Do not forget this. So sometimes microorganisms is not written there. Sometimes it's biofilm. Sometimes it's plaque. Okay. Sometimes gram-negative microorganism. So these are the possible answers for this question. All right. So plaque here is a soft adherent structural deposits that accumulate on teeth and other surfaces of the mouth, which consists of continually growing bacterial flora in an intermicrobial matrix. Okay, it is also known as your dental biofilm or simply biofilm. Okay, food debris, on the other hand, are rapidly liquefied by bacterial enzymes and mechanical action of lips, cheeks, and tongue. Materia alba, accumulation of tissue cells and bacteria without an organized structure. Okay? They may be easily removed. They're not able to retain on the area. Number 5, which of the following is not for calculus and plaque determination? Ang hirap na. Kaya niyo yan. Nag-solve kayo niyan during your period 2 days. Away-away kayo dyan sa laboratory. Hindi po tumulong si ano, dami nagsusumbong doon. So what did you compute back then? Diba? We're checking for inflammation. What index used for the inflammation? So it's correct. It's letter B, gingival index. Okay? Gingival index by Silnes and Low. So for this one, it scores the gingival inflammation on the facial, lingual, medial surfaces of the teeth. Okay? Symptoms of bleeding comprises of score of 2. Okay? So you kinompute ninyo last time. Okay? So you have your grade here. Grade 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Next, we have the plaque index. Earlier, we have discussed this, diba? What's unique here is that the plaque here is not stained. It is visually checked by drying. Okay? Plaque is not stained. It is visualized by drying. Right? So this is the scoring. I will not be asking you in terms of the score. Huh? I will not be asking sa finals na, okay, what is score 1 of plaque index? Hindi naman. So oral hygiene index, OHI by Green and Vermillion. Okay. So for this one, it's concentrated on dental calculus because during that time, calculus is considered as the etiologic factor for periodontal disease. Look here. Way back 1960, what they believed is that calculus is the etiologic factor for periodontal disease. Calculus causes periodontal disease. So it changed already. Okay? Calculus does not cause periodontal disease. Instead, it's the plaque which causes periodontal disease. Okay? Wait lang. So we have what we call OHIS. Okay? OHIS is Oral Hygiene Index Simplified. Okay? So it's different from your OHI because in OHIS, you're only assessing 6 teeth rather than 12. Okay? 6 lang. 6 surfaces rather pala. 6 surfaces. What are those 6 surfaces assessed in OHIS? Okay? You're assessing the buccal of 1.6, 1.1, and 2.6, and also the lingual of 3.6, 3.1, and 4.6. Okay? So faster na siya. Okay? Faster in terms of performing it in a certain community, right? We have the formula here. So number 6, the depth of the gingival sulcus is increased in gingivitis because depth of the sulcus is increased in gingivitis. Because of what? Anong cause? It's the edema of inflammation, swelling, increase in size. Diba? We mentioned earlier, I think that I have a picture here. We mentioned earlier that during inflammation, what happens to the gingiva? It swells. There's a vasodilation. Okay? So since there's vasodilation, what happened? May engorgement of blood. Thus, from this level, it now becomes in this level. That is your pseudo pocket. Okay? It appears deep, however, there's no bone loss, there's no attachment loss happening here. The increase in depth is because of the coronal migration of your pregingival margin. Coronal migration of the pregingival margin. Pseudo pocket. And it is also known as your, you still remember, other name for pseudo pocket? Gingival pocket. Tama. Okay? Gingival pocket. So next, number 7. The most reliable diagnostic aid to determine pocket depth is letter A. Some of you might think na periotron. Mukhang social kasi, Doc, eh. I'll answer periotron. So trust your instinct, ha? Periodontal probe. Okay? Periodontal probe. What is periotron? Periotron is an electric instrument that is used to quantify the volumes of your gingival trabecular fluid and saliva. This is your periotron. It measures the volume of your GCF and saliva. Okay? So the answer here is letter A, periodontal probe. So I'm assuming you already know this. PPD, or pocket probing depth, is measured from the free gingival margin up to the base of the pocket. Gingival recession is measured from the CEJ up to the free gingival margin. Okay, and CAL is measured from the CEJ to the base of the pocket. Okay. Number 8. May nagtanong pala sa akin last time. Someone asked me, Doc, what if, di ba Doc, sabi niya, Doc, di ba CAL, what's the formula for CAL? Is equal to GR plus PPD. Ba? GR plus PPD is your CAL. PPD plus GR, CAL. Tama. Okay? So may nagtanong sa akin, Doc, what if gingival recession is 0? Is it always na CAL is equal to PPD? CAL daw ba is equal to PPD in a healthy patient? Doc, so if the patient does not have periodontitis, is it always that CAL is equal to PPD? What do you think is the answer there? Is it always true that CAL is equal to PPD if if the patient is healthy? In a healthy patient, where is the level of the pregingival margin? Is it here? No, diba? It's slightly above the CEJ. It's slightly coronal to the CEJ. So this is not always true. You have to factor in the level of your free gingival margin. So in this case, if the free gingival margin is above or coronal to the CEJ, what would be the value of your gingival recession here? Positive or negative? Anong value niya? If it's coronal to the CEJ. Coronal, ha? Dito, anong value natin? Is it positive or negative? So for this one, it will be negative. Diba? And here, it would be positive. Okay? So meaning to say, negative GR plus PPD or PPD minus GR is equal to CAL. Diba? So it's not always true that CAL is equivalent to PPD if the patient is healthy, because normally the level of your pregingival margin is above the CEJ or coronal to the CEJ. All right. Number 8, which of these gingival tissue is not keratinized? So, alin daw yung hindi keratinized among these choices? You have your sulcular epithelium, attached gingiva, interdental gingiva, marginal gingiva. Of course, the one that is not exposed to masticatory forces. So the one not exposed to masticatory forces is the sulcular epithelium. So the answer is letter A. Okay? Yeah, sulcular epithelium. Ito, this part here. This one. Okay? Number 9. A structureless film on tooth surface and other non-sloughing surfaces in the oral cavity which can be removed by abrasive polishing and forms again after removal. Bumabalik ulit siya. Saan yung mabuti? So after brushing, tatanggal mo siya, pero 30 minutes after brushing, it forms again. So it's the pellicle. Diba? Pellicle. It forms again after brushing, specifically 30 minutes after brushing. Pellicle coats the teeth, okay, prevents the tooth from desiccation, and also pellicle would now signal pellicle would be a niche for the bacteria to adhere to the tooth. Diba? Because without the pellicle, bacteria is not able to adhere to the tooth surface. That's why anti-adhesives were formulated back then. However, they are not biocompatible, and also we need pellicle, okay, to prevent the tooth from desiccation. Number 10. The role of calculus in the etiology of periodontal disease is rough surfaces cause irritation, harbors dental plaque, which is difficult to remove, blocks drainage, composition of calculus is toxic to the gingiva. That's the answer. Letter B, harbors dental plaque, which is difficult to be removed. It's a niche for plaque accumulation, plaque retentive. Okay? Hanap lang kayo ng sentence that is close to plaque retentive, and that is letter B. Okay? We have discussed this already earlier. We mentioned that for calculus, you have different crystalline forms. Okay? You have the brushite, octacalcium phosphate, hydroxyapatite, and with loctite. Okay? Supragingival versus subgingival, we have also explained already earlier. We now go to number 11. The attachment of the gingiva after periodontal surgery is by means of attachment of gingiva after periodontal surgery. Stenosis, healing of wound, gingiva-based scar tissue formation, long. Letter, most of the time it is the formation of your LJE or your long junctional epithelium. You still remember the 4 cells that can predominate on the area. Diba? We have the epithelial cells. We have the connective tissue cells. Okay, you have your ano pa ba? Bone cells. And lastly, you have your periodontal ligament cells together with the perivascular cells from the bone. Okay, epithelial cells would take how many days to heal? What's the healing time for epithelial cells? How many days? 7 days. Connective tissue would be 14 days. Bone cells, bone, 90 days or 3 months. And PDL would take around 28 days. Okay, 28 days to form. Okay, I think it's in here. So basically, if your long junctional epithelium would predominate on the area, what would happen is that, or if the epithelial cells would predominate on the area, what will happen is that long junctional epithelium would form. However, if it's the connective tissue cells that would predominate on the area, then what can happen is that there can be connective tissue adhesion and root resorption. Root resorption. If it's the bone cells that can predominates on the area, there would be root resorption also, and also ankylosis. And if it's the periodontal ligaments that would predominate on the area, then there would be periodontal regeneration. And during periodontal therapy, how can we achieve periodontal regeneration? You need to put a barrier here, preventing your epithelial cells and connective tissue cells from predominating the area. And you call that your GTR, which means guided tissue regeneration, right? So epithelial cells, sabi natin 7 days. Connective tissue, 14 days. Bone cells, 3 months or 90 days. Then we have the periodontal ligament cells, 28 days. Okay. Number 12. The investing and supporting tissues of the tooth is what? Pregingiva, epithelial attachment, periodontium, alveolar bone. Supporting tissues of the tooth. Of course, it's the periodontium. Okay? Periodontium is also known as your attachment apparatus, or the supporting structures of the tooth. And as I have discussed already earlier, we have 4 components of the periodontium, namely your cementum, PDL, alveolar bone, and your gingiva. Okay, those are your 4 components of the PDL, of the periodontium. Number 13. Unattached gingiva surrounding the teeth in a collar-like fashion. Papaikot daw siya sa tooth, the gingiva that would surround the tooth in a collar-like fashion that is unattached. It's the letter B, marginal gingiva. You're asked for the gingiva, not for the space. So marginal gingiva. Okay? Or the free gingival margin. Free gingival margin. Okay? Letter B. Number 14. A shallow linear depression separating the free and the attached gingiva. This is a shallow linear depression separating the free from the attached gingiva. So, drawing nyo lang ulit mabilisan. Yung free gingiva, this is the attached gingiva. What do you call that? That's a free gingival groove. Free gingival groove, FGG. Okay? Letter B tayo. Free gingival groove. And number 15, the shallow groove around the tooth bounded by the surface of the tooth and the epithelial attachment. So, mostly drawing dapat dyan. Ha? Hindi nyo ini-imagine. You need to draw. Okay? Shallow groove around the tooth bounded by the surface of the tooth and epithelial attachment. I think this was asked already earlier this morning. It's bounded by the tooth, and the epithelial attachment. So what do you call that? That is the gingival sulcus. Gingival sulcus. Okay, yung space, this one. So, your gingival sulcus, where you insert your periodontal probe. All right? Alas 2 pa lang, break na agad. So, we'll have a break. This item analysis is, let me just check, 35 items. So we still have 20 items to discuss after. Okay? So, aga tayo mag-dismiss. Okay? We'll have 15-minute break. Okay? 15-minute break. So, it's now 2:05 or 2:03. So, 2:20 tayo. 2:20. Alright? If you want to consult your grade, wala kayo kanina, pwede naman ngayon. Okay? So, message lang kayo dito sa chat box. Okay, see you ng 2:20.